Hi, my name's Stewart and welcome back to another short review roundup on Flying Wiener. This time we're talking about 3 different things, actually from different streaming services. So in the order that I mentioned now, they will also be talked about. So if you want to jump ahead to any of them, you have the bar below with all the timestamps, or if you look in the description, you can find them there as well if you just want to jump ahead. First, I'm going to be talking about a show from Netflix. It's called Love, Death and Robots, which is a sci-fi anthology. Then second, I'll be talking about the new Disney Plus show Obi-Wan Kenobi, set in the Star Wars universe, of course. And the third thing I'm going to talk about is the show Picard, which recently had its 2nd season. For me, I don't know where it's available for you, depends I suppose on where you are. In Austria at least, it's available through Amazon. So we've got 3 different streaming services. We've got Netflix, we've got Disney Plus, and we've got Amazon. So the first show we're going to talk about is Love, Death and Robots. It's an anthology series, as I just described. This is the 3rd volume of it, the 3rd season, if you will. What's great about it is it's an anthology series, so it's a collection of individual stories. And they are also rather short. So they vary, of course, in length between 6 and 20 minutes, I'll say. So the great thing about this show is obviously not every single episode will be absolutely gripping, because we are really jumping from one concept to something that's very, very different, you know, from one episode to the next. So there might be an episode here or there that doesn't entirely grip you or so. Doesn't really matter, because, you know, it's only short. It'll at least leave some impression, because there wasn't a single episode that I found boring or anything. You know, there were just better ones than others. So even if you don't like it too much, you know, it's not long and then you get the next one. What I like about it is that we just get not only so many stories, but we get so many art styles. Now, it's been a while since I've seen volumes 1 and 2, so that's why I'm not talking about them. I am just talking about volume 3 because it was released rather recently and I watched it, of course. And it is really fascinating. You've got such wonderful animation going on here. I mean, recently, unfortunately, it was reported that Netflix has cut a lot of its animation budget. I think that's the wrong step. What they should do instead is they should focus on things that actually work and are actually worthwhile, like this here, because every episode has got a really, really distinct style that they're going for, and they're all interesting. And not just that, but they're really, really well made too. Now you've got, you know, all sorts of various stories. Now just to give you some examples, we've got one where we're dealing with a galactic swarm, you know, and humans learning about this swarm that you know, spans, I don't know how many billions of individuals and races and whatnot, and, you know, learning about that. You've got another story where in a future Scotland, the farmer's dealing with a rat infestation. That is a bit, not quite typical, I'll call it. You've got an episode where we're following sort of medieval, I believe they're supposed to be Spanish, conquistadors in South America, and they encounter a siren, which, by the way, the episode, it's the last one, is called Gibaro. It's got the most amazing art style out of all of them. The camera work is frantic and interesting, and it's just one of the most unique experiences I've ever had. And the episode is only like 13, 14 minutes long, something like that. So if you only watch one episode, you should probably watch that, because at least visually it's just the most fascinating and engrossing, really. Yeah, and what else do we have? We have probably the funniest episode out of all of them is we have a whole episode. It's only about 5 minutes long or so, and I think it's called Night of the Living Minis, or Mini Dead, or something like that. And we're basically watching miniatures. We see a zombie outbreak begin and slowly take over the entire world. And it's all in miniatures, and it's done so wonderfully. It's so hilarious as well. Squeaky voices included, you know, all sorts of things. It is really fun too. So I would say, you know, watch the whole thing, check out. If you're a fan of science fiction, this must be up your alley, because really we've got so many different concepts and stories and interesting characters. Sometimes we also have fantastical things, like the episode Gibaro I mentioned. It's not really sci-fi, it's more fantasy. So some of the episodes are fantasy, but the main thing is definitely science fiction. So if you're a fan of that genre, you need to watch it. It is really top-notch done. You've even got an episode directed by David Fincher. So, you know, it's not like these are just no-names doing this. You've got a lot of really good people who know their stuff involved in this. Really high-quality stuff. Check it out if you've got Netflix. Second show we're going to talk about is Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, I am a Star Wars fan. I would call myself a Star Wars fan. I'm not really a nerd. I don't care about it as much as I do about the typical superhero comic book stuff. But I like Star Wars, just generally speaking. So I was very excited about this series as well because I think Ewan McGregor did a fantastic job in the prequel trilogy, you know, portraying Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's a no-brainer really that they made this show. It's got 6 episodes. That seems to be the format that Disney Plus is going for all of its shows, be it Star Wars or the MCU. It's fine, I suppose. This show actually feels quite good in the sense of it's very tight. There's not much filler, you know, when you compare it to like the Book of Boba Fett, which was a really bad show in my opinion. This one felt really good. There was only one thing they added in which I felt was rather unnecessary because it's like we need the Star Wars element of, and we've seen it so many times before, we have to go to a base to rescue someone, you know, and you've got all sorts of, it feels like something we've seen time and time again. I don't feel it added much to this show. This show is about Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's kind of really, you know, bummed out. This is 10 years after the trilogy, the prequel trilogy ended, and so he is taking care, or at least having a watchful eye over Luke and Leia, and slowly Darth Vader returns, as it were, to his life, and he gets involved with him again. So, you know, the two clash, and that's obviously very exciting because this is the first time we see it in this context. You know, obviously we've got it in A New Hope, but that was rather short, you know, and the context was missing, obviously, at the time as well. But here we get to see a lot of that, and it's done so well. You even got Hayden Christensen returning as Anakin Skywalker, Darth Vader, so you've got that as well. It's got a lot of great elements. Like I say, Ewan McGregor is fantastic in the role. Who knows, they might even add another season or two to show us what Obi-Wan got up to, you know, in the time to A New Hope, because I'm sure there were other things he did in that time, you know, he didn't just sit around. So it's a really good show if you're a Star Wars fan, particularly the last 2 episodes, I think, well, and just every scene between the two that we have is just a real joy. You know, we get to see so much, acting wise, there's so much as well. It is really good, so especially if you are a fan of the original Star Wars films, this is really something for you. The last thing we'll talk about is Picard. Now, the first season I was kind of mixed on. I thought it was okay. The second season I feel is kind of bad, I'll be honest. The plot is very simple, and it's something we've seen so often in Star Trek. It's a simple time travel story, so we have to travel back in time to fix something that was changed in the timeline, and it just feels like a retread of stuff we've seen before. It's very unfortunate. I mean, there are good elements in it. The show is obviously well made too, you know, and the characters are fine, but it feels, I don't know, is this a thing with Amazon series? The last time on my review roundup I talked about Reacher, and this kind of also felt like it's just a bit dated. The way the show is made, it just feels dated. It feels like something we already got 15 years ago or so. Also, I love Patrick Stewart. He's definitely one of my favourite actors. I know he's getting old, but that is not the reason for this here. But here in this show, he just, I don't know, he felt tired to me. It's like he's not invested in it anymore. Which is strange because, to my knowledge, as I recollect, Picard was his brainchild, or at least he was very determined to make this show. You know, he was really into it. Here he just felt tired. I don't know, it's just that he wasn't really fully into it. And the story, again, it didn't really do much for me. I don't feel we've advanced anything here. To me, it didn't really do a lot. We had a thing with an alternate timeline, which we've also just recently had in Star Trek Discovery, so it feels like, I don't know, I mean, surely a show like Star Trek would have so many things it can do without us having to repeat the same things over and over again. So I'm sorry, but I'm really not a big fan of that. I think that is also sort of the general consensus. I don't think this season really did a lot for people, so yeah, I don't know what the path forward is, but I think they really need to figure some stuff out. Quite unfortunate because, similar to Star Wars, I see myself as a Star Trek fan. I'm not a Trekkie, but I do generally enjoy it. All of the films, for example, I thought Star Trek Beyond was amazing. Many people didn't like it. I thought, to me, it felt like a very classical Star Trek. So I was going to say Star Wars there. A very classical Star Trek journey, adventure, what have you. To me, I really like that film, so I do hope we can go more in that direction with stuff, because it's just, you know, it's just fun to explore the galaxy at times, you know, and surely we can have that in a show as well. Why not? Even if we are dragging old Picard out. Yeah. That will be all from me today. We shall wrap up this short review roundup. I hope you enjoyed. If you've seen any of these shows, please let me know in the comments down below. You know, anything you liked about them, disliked about them. There's obviously a lot to talk about with Love, Death and Robots being so many different things all in one. If you've got suggestions for other shows I should watch, you can of course share them down below as well. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe. It's the best way to support this channel, and I will see you in the next video on Flying Wiener. Take care.